to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms, because that's the opportunity that is before us right now and necessary for us to move into that. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I released a show where I was talking about how, the greatest lie that has been told to the melanated nation is that, we gained freedom and that slavery and colonialism ended. That is the greatest lie, beloved, because what has happened is that from the day the inorganic beings penetrated our atmosphere, they have been gunning for our souls. They've had a genocidal agenda against us, and their invasion has not stopped. It's just always taken different forms. And our ancestors described them as the great trickster, or that spirit, the spirit that has kind of, ensouled them and is using them to kind of try and penetrate this spiritual reality, which is just impossible because there are higher realms that are just not accessible to those without melanin. But those are stories for other days. But they've been on a constant invasion. And 2021 was the solidification of everything that they've taken, whether we want to say 1,000 years, 500 years, however many years they've taken, because everything is upside down and back to front. A long time, let me put it like that. They've been on this agenda to take over this world, and it just can't happen. But one of the things is that they've used this trickster spirit to confuse and blind the whole world. And one of the things that they blinded us to was ourselves. And they blinded us to the current situation at hand. They lied, beloveds. They lied by telling us that colonialism and slavery were over with. Look at how they gunned down our black family in the divided states. Look how the police treat our own people here on the continent. That trickster spirit, which was not very prevalent amongst our people, had been contained, let's say, came and took over the weak ones and then gave them rule on reign. It's like giving a child, complete dominion of a freaking kingdom. What do you think that child will do? Or a teenager who's just, looking to enjoy life. And so I know a lot of people are really looking for liberation in earnest. They really want to help with the global liberation struggle of our people. They really want us to be free. But because we think we're free, we try and gain that freedom within the matrix. It can't happen. We have to rebuild our kingdoms. We have to rebuild our destroyed shrines. And physically, we're not going to go back and build the kingdoms of old that are no more. Because we built those spiritually. The world is mental first, beloveds. And so, for the complete reformation and restoration of our people, we have to start building those queendoms and kingdoms now with the people that we have who are awakened. Start building our queendoms. Start building our communities. Start gathering together as families. Start creating, letting spirit, because we're not doing this alone. If we think that we are physically trying to rebuild our destroyed shrines and our destroyed kingdoms, it can never happen. But we have a helping hand from billions of our brothers and spiritual sisters, beloveds. And so it's just getting our minds right and then allowing us to be instruments of restoration, instruments of great architecture, by being a conduit of spirit and connecting with spirit. But the fundamental thing is we have to recognize that freedom that we thought came never came. And that we can never be free in the system of the oppressor. We can never. And that's why the oppressor has done everything to make sure that there is no free kingdom, that everyone has kind of bowed to this system of members of parliament and governors and all these men in suits. Because the trickster, I can't even say the name, trickster, is actually like he operates more on that male vibe, that male energy. Invasion, dominion, rulership, like that's the spirit that they've come in with. And that's why we're seeing so many of them now trying to convert to that feminine energy, because the feminine rules and reigns here, regardless of what happens. Women are in charge, regardless of what the Babylon system has said. And so the only way to be free is to walk away, beloveds, and to rebuild our own kingdoms and queendoms, to come together and buy land, and come together even spiritually, to come together and buy land and create our own communities, and then connect with other communities that are already being built across Africa of high vibrational, highly minded beings. But eventually we'll have to start creating spiritually the new heaven on earth, the new structure, the new spiritual reality. And as we create that spiritually, it will manifest physically. Because all these systems, like the political system, beloveds, is a blood system. It's a blood sacrifice system as it stands today. Everything in this system, to make it in this matrix, it's all about sacrifice. But as the melanated ones, we don't need that energy from others. We can generate that energy in ourselves. And that's why a lot of our conscious teachers call them the inorganic ones. Because they can't generate power to create. That's why we're called creators. Because we can generate enough spiritual power to manifest a thing in our lives. We can generate. I saw the bird speaks every time I love it. We can generate, beloveds, the power to create things. And then when we come together, we can generate societies, entire worlds, entire communities. That's the direction we need to go into. But we have to show ourselves that we are worthy, because the spirit of Eden, the spirit of Africa, the spirit of Al-Kabulan, the spirit of Ethiopia, wherever you want to call it, the spirit of Mwenyenyaga, the all-powerful, the absolute powerful one, is ruling and reigning right now. And they must find us worthy. Because there's a cleanup happening, beloveds. I don't know if I've released it on this platform, but you can definitely catch it on Patreon, about the great cleansing of the earth that is going to happen, which Babylon may try and hijack and make it seem like it was their idea, like they always do. But beloveds, we must prove ourselves worthy at such a time as this. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. So how do we get our freedom back? Before I get into it, thanks to every single person that has subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks to every single person that supports us on Patreon. We do release news stories and many other things on there. So go ahead and consider joining for as little as $2 a month. And I'm talking about how do we really, as an African people, as a global melanated people, gain our freedom? How do we get out of this matrix? It's already happening, beloveds. I think if we think that we have to orchestrate or initiate anything, then we'll be here forever. It's already been happening. The minute we got enslaved, our people in the spiritual realm started to figure out how we'd be free and started fighting for that freedom. That's why Babylon only rules for a twinkle of an eye. They even tell you that in their doctored spirit, scriptures. That Satan, will rule for literally a second. They did all of that for a second. But that should tell you how precious this place is. But the only thing we need to do, beloveds, because all these are stories and they've muddled up and mucked up and put all this garbage in our heads. The thing to do now is to walk away and to safeguard the minds of the children. To safeguard the minds of our children, because that's who they're coming for. We're already stuck in this. I mean, a lot of people, if you want to see where this current generation is, look at how many people have the facial diaper on. Then you'll see the level of control, like slavery and colonialism never ended. People are so mentally colonized. Even in the village, beloveds, where someone may have never even seen a Mzungu, they still have that diaper on. That shows you that you have to think that it has to be bigger than just being told physically to do that. And so we are in the stage where the spirit of our ancestors and the spirit of our Creator has taken over. And there will be a great cleansing, there will be a reformation, there will be a restoration. It's out of our hands now. We are not the ones who will, how do I put this without being misunderstood? The victory is already ours, beloveds. We don't have to go into the streets and do all that, no. The war has already been won. We're not here for the war. We're here for the restoration. And we have to get into a restoration kind of mentality and mindset. Because we're Babylon, by making us so physical and closing us from the first eye and making us focus on the second eye, we're always in his story, which means we're always in the past. We're always participating and reacting to past events, beloveds. Armageddon has already happened, beloveds. Spiritually, it's done. And so if you can see and you even have a seer who can tell you that great final war has been won, then you will know that what's coming next is the season of restoration and reformation. And so you must do what's necessary to participate and be a leader and a forerunner in the great seasons and times ahead. And that means getting yourself ready, disconnecting from Babylon, the Babylon mentality, the Babylon food. There's someone who commented about how our higher self, especially those original ones, us who are the original melanated ones, our higher self is pulling our lower self out of the matrix as the matrix crumbles. Because the matrix is conscious. It's a conscious thing. It's a mental construct that can crumble like that, but so many people are attached to it. So prepare for the seasons and times ahead, because the war has been fought. And what we're going to be seeing now physically is what they say about Satan wanting to take down as many people as possible as he went down. The collective freedom has been won. You just need to work on your own freedom, free yourself. And let's start thinking, okay, everything about this, the political system, the education system, the media, everything is the Babylon system. And so for us to be free, we must do the great works of creating our own systems, no matter how small they start. Because they'll grow quickly. And that means like each and every person needs to build their own system of faith, of creative power, of strength, of boldness, of clarity, so that we can come together collectively and create this. But that's how we need to. There's nothing we're going to create in these political systems. We just have to let them die, beloveds. But we need to be coming together spiritually and on a higher level to start to allow the spirit of our ancestors to commune so that the dead, the living, and the unborn can start to construct the life that is already here. It's not even to come. It's already here. And we are the great architects of this new reality. So let the dead bury the dead, as they say. The physically dead bury the physically dead. Let Babylon fall with who it must fall with. It is an SOS season. It's time for us to save our souls. And first you have to save yourself. And just come into the reality like everything that we're enjoying right now that has a Babylon signature that they probably stole from us, our inventions, must be let go of, and we must create anew. It seems like a lot of work because they've entrenched us so much in the physical. If we knew the world was mental and how much power we had as a spiritual brother and sisterhood to come together and totally change the landscape of our reality, we'd be focusing way more on that than creating any organization or system or anything in the Babylon system. Use the Babylon system to secure your kingdom and queendom. But but disconnect from it as much as possible. And even as you start to build your communities, don't make them Babylon communities. Make them sustainable, spiritually inspired spaces of peace and excellence. Chuka pamoja.